Good evening. Welcome to another contentious episode of Diatribes from the Voice of Doom. Now here's your contemptuous and convivial host, Voice of Doom. And now we present a guest. The Voice of Boon is going to join Doom for an episode today. So we will introduce him as the Voice of Boon. Alright. As promised, gonna have my second-born son progeny as a guest star today, the Voice of Boon. Welcome. I didn't notice how much he looks like Tommy Chong now, because I haven't seen him in a couple weeks, but apparently he's letting himself go. I think he joined Antifa a few weeks ago, but I'm not sure. We were going to have a little debate because I needed some, crossfire. Some, back and forth about my opinion, because I've been telling everybody that we're all doomed and that pretty much human civilization and civil society is coming to a quick close. And apparently my second-born kid here disagrees with me and thinks that life is rosy and everything's going to be fine. So we're going to have a little debate about that. Well, we'll say on the outset that I, really thank the powers that be and the universal forces that I had two sons, because they've helped me out a lot and helped us out a lot, so he's been very good. So I would advocate against aborting your kid, because you never know when he might buy you a computer or something. So without further ado, I'll give it to Voice of Boon, and he can explain why he thinks that the world is not as bad as I tell him. And take it away, Boon.
Thank you, Doom. So, hello everyone. I'm the Voice of Boon. Unlike the brooding Darth Vader over here, I am his Luke Skywalker, I suppose, and I believe that everything that is happening in society in this macrocosm is arguably more the same. We've always had conflict. We've always had depravity, inflation. It's all there. Now, can you make the argument that it's never been this bad? Of course. Completely contingent upon your definition of good or bad. And might I also add that I have several points that pop away at his big balloons of negativity, that the world is coming to an end, or we're going towards this great reset, as these congressional delegates are speaking of. So I'm prepared to defend this world, and I'm also armed and ready to say that as a bodhisattva and as a young aspiring lawyer, I think that humanity can live on. So let's see what we can talk about.
All right, so I am saying that the governments of the world are all corrupt and insane. They are causing war, pestilence, and suffering everywhere. We have insane people in the White House. We have insane people in the Kremlin. We have insane people in Beijing. We have insane people on every continent running the show. We have food shortages coming up. We have energy shortages coming up. We have viruses in the air, and then we have people not knowing how to deal with it. And then we have a technological pile of crap that everyone's concerned about, because they don't want people to say whatever they want, because they want the lies to be prominent. And if you start telling the truth, then everything's going to fall apart, and they'll realize what a fraud everything was. And economically, other countries are getting stronger than us. and we're getting weaker. And all our paper money is going to be worthless soon. So other than that, everything's fine. Now you can tell me now how you have hope for the future.
In a single word, showmanship. You've got Biden, and I say President Biden, unlike, your adjective of choice, Petri dish. I see him having cameras on him 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 over the last, what has it been, November of 2020. Of course, they're only ever going to show the parts that look bad. They're never going to show all the good he's done.
Oh my God.
They're never going to show the fact that Kamala Harris was a successful prosecutor. They're never going to show anything good about congressional delegates.
This has got to be satire.
Because that does not bring in the views.
Yes,
Nobody wants
certainly.
to flip on the news and see, oh, hey, the president did great. The economy is great.
They're
all the
hiding Petri dishes' great successes and just showing the bad stuff.
Why would they Why would they ever show his
I'm really
successes
proud
on
of
Fox
this guy.
on Fox News when they're voted number one?
I
in the
mean, people would
Conservative
be
Party?
aching to see him do something good. I think even Fox News would say it was good because it would be such a thing out of left field. It would be such a surprise. Petri dish actually did something good for a change.
All right. Well, how was releasing more oil from our emergency reserves a bad thing?
How is it bad? Because then we run out of oil and then we
That's
have
what
less
it's
later.
there for. It's for an
it's
emergency.
It's not an emergency
How is the rising cost of gas not an emergency?
because it's for wartime.
Okay.
It's for
Well,
real emergencies when we have hurricanes and when we have major outages and stuff. Then they release it.
those happen once in a blue moon, and what? You're gonna give
Go ahead,
enough
use all the
gasoline?
gas. I don't care.
Give enough gasoline for a small town. That'll put a small dot on the massive map.
Well, the more we use of the reserves, the less we have.
That's
and
what
then-
it's there for. Oh, I'm not going to spend my money because now I won't have enough to buy a cruise ship.
Are
That's
they
what
going
you're
to
saying.
replace the reserve or not?
Well, I don't see why not. You keep drilling
But
up
Petri dish
oil.
wants to stop producing oil.
He wants to start producing energy in different ways, like the rest of the poor countries are.
Solar panels and windmills.
It's never a bad idea to diversify your portfolio.
He wants to get rid of cars and use solar panels and windmills.
Well, we can debate on what Biden internally wants. Right now, I think all he wants is a vanilla ice cream cone. But you know what? He wants us to diversify our energy, okay? So he wants more solar. He wants more wind farms. Yes, he wants more big gigafactories that honestly don't do that. They aren't that unhealthy for the environment as opposed to these big hunkin' fracking machines that destroy native landmarks and frankly are very unconstitutional if you think about it.
It's unconstitutional to have oil wells. I don't think so.
Alright, well,
I mean, you have a car. Your job depends on the car. If you didn't have a car, you wouldn't have the job you have, right?
so there's this thing called federal land and state land. 80% of Nevada is federal land. Now, the 10th Amendment says that anything not directly stated in the Constitution are implied powers given to the states. Now, did Nevada ever sign a piece of paper saying that the government could just have 80% of its land to test nuclear bombs and etc.? No. So, yeah, I think it's unconstitutional. Now, we were talking about
I don't know
the
the
big
details.
government, right? You know, the powers that be, right?
Yeah.
So your stance is still as it is on the
What stance?
powers that be, that we're going towards a great reset or this so-called conflagration.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I stick by that.
Well, I would like to allow in your argument, but I believe that my stance is this: nobody benefits from the economy collapsing, and nobody regrets more from the economy collapsing, quite like rich people. They need us poor people to be shopping at Dollar Tree and Lowe's and buying used cars and shopping so they can become richer. They don't want the economy to collapse so they can live in their bunker. They want us to be able to
They
spend
may
money.
not have a choice.
Well,
and they will be prepared.
I would like to
They will be
argue
prepping big
that
time. They'll
when
have nice bunkers.
when rich people feel like something should be done in America, something is usually done.
Yeah, but we reached the can at the end of the road. We kicked it down long enough. There's no more kicking.
What makes you think
They're
that it's
borrowing money. We have this economy's been a fraud. It's been based on war and printing money,
all right? Well,
borrowing from foreign countries. Now we're going around begging hat in hand for the very fossil fuels we want to get rid of. That doesn't make any sense. None of
Well,
it does make any sense.
as a small side note, we owe most of the money to ourselves through Social
Doesn't matter.
Security. Well,
It's
it
not
does
gonna be
matter
worth
because we're
much.
not going hat in hand like
I'm
you're
going to
saying.
turn in my bonds now and get nothing in return. Get a bunch of paper.
That's just the way that bonds go, okay? The people who sign them can't know what the
I'm
world's
talking
going to be
about
like in 100
afterwards.
years.
You keep talking about the world like the economy is just going to keep going like it is.
Well, why has it kept going as opposed to, when you thought it was all going to end a year ago?
Because I got my figures wrong.
Of course. Well, please indulge us.
It might take longer.
No. What would you say? Why would it not? Okay, instead of saying how soon will it happen, what's stopping the world from going on for another 100 years?
How much radioactive waste is in the air?
Hmm?
I mean, is there just a little bit, or is there like tons of it?
Well, when you say radioactive
Maybe
waste, what do you mean?
Talking about bombs going off, and I'm talking about us laying waste to ourselves within the next 6 to 8 years,
So that's
and
your
possibly sooner.
time estimation, 6 to 8 years.
Well, I thought the pestilence would take a bunch of people out by now, but maybe it's going to take longer. And then I thought that the economic collapse and possible EMPs or infrastructure collapse will take out a lot of people, but it's just crumbling slowly. It's not happening very quickly.
I don't think any country has the gumption to go to war against America.
There's a million countries going to war with each other.
We have a very strong military, and we're
No, we don't.
everywhere. We're like
Our military is not that strong at all.
oh, we're out there.
They fired everybody for not having the stupid ass shot.
Oh,
They're getting in people that aren't capable of doing it.
that's all fake news.
Fake news.
Yeah.
How do you know it's fake news? Where do you get your data?
By simply checking other sources that you don't check.
Checking other sources.
Yes. I don't know, about half a few dozen diatribes ago, you were saying that it was illegal for people to ask if you were vaccinated because it violates your HIPAA rights, and it doesn't. Since then, I've been wanting to get into law, and I found out that it has nothing to do with HIPAA. If you walk into Costco without a mask, they have every right to ask you to leave, legally.
Well, I don't think I even mentioned that, but I haven't said anything about masks. I like them.
Well, you said the vaccine.
Yeah.
You said that the vaccine was going to cause 6 billion people to die, and frankly, unless everything's cloak and dagger out there, which I don't think the government is smart enough to pull that off. I just don't see that happening. So,
Well, if you look at the time sequence of what happened and how strange it was, you would realize that that's what's happening.
how is there a non-strange way to handle a pandemic?
We've never done it the way we did this time.
Well, how
We've
many?
had plenty of pandemics. We never shut down the world over it. We never rushed through a vaccine that is not really tested out and try to get everybody in the world to get it as quickly as possible. Never happened before.
Yes, and I suppose there was one man from the Donner Party that probably made the assumption, yeah, I'm sure this snow will eventually let up.
Donner Party? I don't know what that even means.
The Donner Party, come on, they all
I
froze
know
to
what the
death.
Donner Party was. I don't know what that has to do with me.
You're saying that America couldn't have handled it possibly worse, and the fact is that you just answered your own question. We've never had something like this happen, so how do you know that we couldn't have handled it worse?
Because we've had pandemics before in the past.
You said not like this.
No, I think the Spanish flu was worse.
Well, I don't know.
But what's more of your topics you have here? Because you wanted to get to them. We're at 14 minutes.
All right, fine. Let's talk about your solution. You said that in order to have what I think of more of a faux capital government, you say that the government should, no one man should have all that power, to quote Kanye West. Do you think that a committee should be in charge of the whole shebang, that they should be making all the big decisions so that way no one can be totally corrupt and have it all to themselves? And I'm going to tell you right now that having another committee to take charge is just going to slow down the entire, rubber band ball and into a absolute snooze fest
You don't
of
have
molasses.
another committee. You get rid of all the people and you start a new thing. You have people that are good at what they do in charge of stuff.
Well,
Like Department of Energy has a scientist, not a stupid ass drag queen acting or performance artist that's in the government for whatever reason. You have people that have doctorates in their field to be in charge of that field. And then you delineate what the fields are. There can be Department of Energy, there can be a Department of Agriculture. Get the most smart agriculturalists to be in charge. Then you can vote for those people, and you have a small committee so that not one person makes the decisions. That would be wrong.
Well, there you go.
But it's
everyone.
after the conflagration, and
wants-
everything's going to be laid waste, and we're going to be in caves again.
Well, no.
So
let's,
the way to
let-
have a better world is to sit around a fire and hopefully have books. Have Nichiren's writings, and we can study that and try to figure out where we went wrong.
All right, well, fine. Let's pretend we're beyond the fact. Let's pretend we all read our books and we're ready to start rebuilding. Fine. You want the Napoleonic Code as your government, and it doesn't work.
I didn't say Napoleonic Code.
That's exactly what it is. You said you want you want the best of the best to take the position. You want the best in science to be a.
well, that's now.
energy.
After we're back to the cave, we don't have to worry about
Of
committees.
course we do. We'll be too busy trying to find penicillin so we don't die in our 20s.
We
There's
won't
no-
have to worry about committees. There will be no centralized or localized government. There will be little communities banding together.
This guy reads too much Rousseau or whatever. He thinks that
Rousseau.
after all the bombs drop or so-called radioactivity is subsiding, that somehow we're all going to band together in communities and just eat grapes and sleep around and play music all day. And it's not going to happen.
Study.
We've got
philosophical discussions.
we've got knowledge now.
Skin a few aardvarks.
Skin a few aardvarks, of course. Well,
We have to eat.
and just who's going to make sure that everyone stays skinning the aardvarks? Is it going to be out of everyone's best interest?
Got to have certain communities that are based on the mystic law. Start all over again with
All
less people.
Well, all it's going to take in that case is one guy to find a musket or some sharp club and just say, "I'm in charge now," or
If
else you're going
everybody
to get
chants,
whacked.
they won't be doing that. That wouldn't happen. We start all over again.
He seems to think that as bodhisattvas, we have this thing called human revolution, and he thinks a human revolution can happen overnight if everyone just gets bombed into oblivion.
No, what's left over has to become,
They won't.
Well, then I guess we'll be sitting around fires fighting with each other
No,
still.
we won't.
Yeah,
It's not going to get to that point.
yeah, it is.
All right. Well, that's gonna be your job to prove it, because I've got plenty of evidence that says that it doesn't.
I won't have to prove it. Either happens or doesn't.
No, well, we're here to debate. So if we're going to talk about what's going to happen, then let's talk about it.
No, I've already given you plenty of proof. There's plenty of countries going to war with huge nuclear devices.
Which they've always been doing.
No, we haven't used them that much.
Yeah, we have.
They start using those things, then we may as well just kiss our ass goodbye. There's food shortages. There's all kinds of bad things happening with food supply and supply chain. There's all kinds of bad things happening with pestilence. So to say that I am just a downer,
This is all stuff that's happened before. When
not as bad as this.
George W. Bush went into the Gulf War and killed 10,000, or what was it, like 20,000 Iraqi soldiers because we were, I don't know, too afraid of them invading. See, I don't know. There's a lot to the
World War II
Operation
was worse than
Rolling
that. I'm
Thunder.
not saying there hasn't been bad things happening.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's going to get worse.
It's gonna
for
get
us.
well. That just because you rely on the media to be honest.
No, I've come to my own conclusions.
All right, well,
I don't need their
unless
approval.
unless you're on the front lines in Ukraine or you're going down to the border and seeing all the Haitians that are apparently there, then I don't think you're coming to your own conclusions on your own.
Well, you're right about that. I got to take at face value that what I'm seeing is semi-true, but
Yeah, that's your first problem.
no, because you don't. What did you do? Get a bunch of movie extras to go down on the border to prove that the border's out of control?
You got to
So that
know
Fox
that the
has a
media,
story?
the media will always spin the worst possible tale to get you to watch. When I went down to this Black Lives Matter protest in 2020, right in the heat of it, and there were all these white girls who were holding up signs saying Black Lives Matter. Not a single African American was there, except for maybe one person, which I can virtually guarantee you was paid to be there.
Where was this? Gardnerville?
This was right here in Carson, in our capital, and some
Oh.
guy across the street who was trying to enjoy his meal shouted something, and all of a sudden, all these mostly white girls, petite, with their signs, just get up and start yelling and going across the street. And what do I see? But this guy with a camera crew, they're just jumping out of their seats and getting their gear ready. They were just sitting on their asses because nothing was happening. And now that we finally got we got some juicy stories to tell here, people. Let's record
So
it.
it was probably prearranged. So what?
I doubt it.
Yeah, it was prearranged. They go, well, we'll
Well-
film your little thing, but you got to do something that we can look at. Otherwise, if you're just going to stand around with your signs. So they did a little hoopla and whoopla and whipla, and then it gets on the news or whatever. That's,
That's not telling the full story, is what it
Well,
is.
I'm not too worried about that. I can see with my own eyes. Well, all right, then they're lying. Then everything should be fine. Prices should be coming down soon. Price of gas should be down at about $2.25 within a few months.
That's wishful
And I'm
thinking.
sure that inflation is going to go down. And Putin is going to say, I'm sorry about Ukraine. I'm going to back off after you bombed me and I bombed you. And I guess Xi Jinping's going to go back to Beijing and say, you know what, I don't want to start a new currency or take over the world. And I'm not interested in Taiwan anymore. And the Saudi Arabians are going to go, yeah, we're not really that interested in selling oil that much anymore. We have enough money. And that'll
Well,
be a great day in America.
c'est la vie, I suppose. But we'll have plenty more episodes to talk about all the little idiosyncrasies about how it's going. But for now, I'll stick to my guns, and you can keep on going gung ho. Looks like this episode's getting
Gung-ho
kind of
toward-
long, so I would say that's
Go toward the abyss. Well, I will wait for more salient rebuttal from you on the next episode that we do. It was a good one.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for being one of my actual guests and not a pretend ersatz guest, because I'm thinking I'm losing my mind a bit. So thanks for watching, and we hope to do more of these in the future. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.